So, Gainz Nation, thanks for joining. So, don't fall at work.
What a
Did it
way to
say?
start the pod.
I don't even know if it says. Oh, there. I think it's recorded right now, but there it is, Gainz Nation. If you want to, if there's a magic pill, is if you got to take it, don't fall.
My God, it's so funny. Well, it's not funny. I mean, it's very tragic if it happens. But at my what is funny is at my last line of work, um, I worked for like an energy efficiency company. I absolutely loved it. Like still to date, like one of my favorite careers.
And
And
Roman's also a least efficient person, so it's like kind of hard that he got a
it's
job
so
like that.
it's so bad too. It just like I just pour straight coal in this system, and it's just like spewing out carbon emissions. Sorry, climate change. But oh my god. Um, I first started as like a technician. So the technician, they're in charge of installing what are called like ISM or instant savings measures. So one of the ISMs would be LED light bulbs. So I would install hundreds, if not thousands of light bulbs on like a daily or weekly basis. Like I kid you not. Um, so I'd be on like one of these like 8-foot step ladders. I'd be like tippy toed on the very top on one leg like this because I'm trying to reach as high as I can. I've got
Hmm.
one of the bulb. If you've ever installed tons of light bulbs, you know what I'm talking about. But they have like these extender poles that have a suction cup on the end, or some have like a cage that will go around, like BR30s, for example. So it's easier to like unscrew them. I'd be like on one foot, tippy toed, like arms stretched out as much as possible. My shoulders would be shaking, and I'd like try and suction cup it. You'd have to like put a little bit of spit on there and then dry it and make sure it just has like the right amount of hydration. You know, like 51% relative humidity. No, I'm just kidding. But you're up there and you're like, you finally get a suction. It's like yes, and then you like try to unscrew it, and then like you're always taking out incandescent light bulbs, so you're like, don't fall. And these are like 27-foot vaulted ceilings, you know, so
Oh
it's
yeah.
like you're like, don't fall, don't fall. There's like little kids playing underneath you. It's like, stop playing underneath me, children. And like you finally like lower it down, and you're like about to grab it, and like a kid bumps the ladder, and the like light bulb falls, smashes everyone. You're like, oh my god. Then you have to go grab like the dustpan and broom and whatnot. And like, what a job. I was so I worked as a tech for 1 year, and I worked as an energy specialist for 1 year. That was probably the leanest I ever was when I was a tech, because you absolutely hustle in that job. We'd run blower door tests. So we'd bring these massive fans in. We'd have to check homes for like vermiculite or asbestos. And if that was the case, then we had this one guy on the crew who would be like, every time he saw it, because it's like, it's tragic for the homeowner, because it's like, it reduces AQI or air quality index like by so much. But he'd be like peering up into the attic, and like the energy specialist would go, and they'd be like, it's a no-go, man. There's vermiculite in the attic. So if anyone isn't aware, vermiculite is a type of insulation. It's also included in potting mix. Around the pre-70s era, it's kind of debatable, but the Libby mines in Libby, Montana were laced with asbestos-containing vermiculite. And there's one company in particular that was synonymous with mining this asbestos contained, and asbestos is very, very bad. I don't know if it's still the leading cause of mesothelioma, but from like a longevity standpoint, you might as well like cut like 20 to 40 years off your life if you work around asbestos, for example. So the Libby mines in Libby, Montana were laced with this stuff. And this company was just pumping it out. And they were just like packaging it, shipping it all across the world. And in my neck of the woods in Massachusetts, because we have such old architecture, like such old buildings, like quite literally, I audited the oldest home on the Cape. It was built in like 1652 or something, give or take a few years. Like a ton of them have vermiculite. So this guy would be like up there, like looking at the energy specialist, like, what do you got going on up there? And the energy specialist like, yeah, like no blower door. We have the Miculite because the blower door, it quite literally will bring in air from all the different like leaks and cracks in the home to test the home's like air tightness. So if there's any asbestos containing material, it's like a no-go. But this guy, he'd be like over the moon because it'd be like one diagnostic test that he didn't have to do. But needless to say, if you want to lose a lot of weight, Gainz Nation, join up with a local energy efficiency company and ask if you can work as a tech. You're like guaranteed to lose like 40 to 60 pounds in a year.
Yeah. I mean, you're always on the move. Yeah, that was like kind of like me when I was in the restaurant business, and then I realized I didn't want to be in there because I was like burning so much energy and I just couldn't keep up with the demand, and just it would just kill my workouts most of the time. So that's pretty crazy, man. Yeah. I heard asbestos is something good that you keep in the house and you breathe in all the time. That's what I heard.
You know, it's so funny. The EPA, they list an amount that you can inhale throughout the day. So I was like, it's impossible. Like even with all the advanced tools that we have, it's like, how do you determine this amount? So the amount that the EPA sets for consumable by the route of inhalation for asbestos is 15 fibers a day. How do you count 15 asbestos fibers? Or
You know, you know who would is that vampire guy who supposedly is like slowing his age with, by spending millions and millions of dollars on his routine. So, what's his name? I forgot his name. His epigenetic age is like, I think he's like in his 40s or 50s, and it's like in the early 40s. Somehow he reversed some of his aging, and I'm like, yeah. And it's like just a bunch of like just overpriced like routines. It's like, okay, sure.
He's just like always clean shaven. He always has like
Yeah.
an oil slick on his face to make him look like younger.
It
He's just
reminds
like
you of the
super
Christian
lean.
Bale and like American Psycho. That's
Yeah,
what he
yeah,
reminds you of. Mike, I only say that because Dr. Mike Israetel, I just watched his like review on like his like daily routine. Did Speaking of which, we didn't podcast last week. Did I talk? I mean, besides posting about it, did I talk about the Summer Games competition?
no, not at
Okay.
all.
Yeah, so I did I was part of a team of three, and I competed in kettlebell snatches, 35-pound dumbbell, 3 minutes, as many reps as possible. I did 88, and the rule is like, obviously you gotta fully extend your arm. It's got to be like pretty much over your ear or below that. Obviously, further than that. Obviously, you don't want to go too far. And then we had like an individual person, kind of like CrossFit games, um, counting everything. And then like the one guy was like coaching me because I told him like, hey, like just coach me through the reps and just yell it as I'm going, because he's a coach there at the gym. Also too, and I still got to get him on the podcast, but I think they're like one of the only gyms like partnered with our Renaissance Periodization, who we talk about all the time on this channel. Obviously, we podcasted with Steve Hall from Revive Stronger. He works with them a ton. But yeah, I mean, you guys probably hear us talking about them all the time. So like when they're wearing their shirts, like they have like RP attached on their shirts and stuff like that. So overall, great event. They replaced like the whiskey and deadlift competition to like the summer games competition. So my buddy Alex, who Roman knows as well, he actually did the deadlift portion of the whiskey and deadlifts, and he almost got 515. Yeah, he literally couldn't lock it out, and I was so mad that he couldn't lock it out because it was above his knees.
Oh,
Yeah, and then he dropped it. I'm like, oh no. But really proud of him, because I think his best is like 501. And my best is only 505. So I've never even touched 515. So kudos to him. He's doing pretty well. But yeah, if I were to ask about the whiskey, and I wasn't ready for that. So good thing he didn't ask me. 'Cause I haven't really been deadlifting a ton. And also I haven't been really working out at a gym that has like a platform. But the person who beat me had the top person had 100 reps. I couldn't tell you if there was anybody in between. I was just kind of focused on who had the highest reps. So I was 12 shy away from being like tied with the best. which is pretty cool because all these people that I was competing against, they're all CrossFit people. Like that's like hands down. But it was a pretty cool experience. I'm hoping to get Mike Swell on the channel one of these days. Dude, man, I think he got like close to a 600-pound deadlift. He's just jacked out of his mind. Yeah, he was like sitting at like 220 or 230, and he still is like he looks pretty jacked. And I think he's about my height or a little bit taller. So he's a big boy, big burly boy, I would say. And also too, I did go to another CrossFit gym in Roman's old neck of the woods, or close to Roman's old neck of the woods in Lincolnwood. I went to CrossFit Factorial. Is the name of the CrossFit gym. So I went to 2 CrossFit gyms in 2 weeks, which is something usually I don't do. But a coworker is a coach there, so I took the day off of work. My brother's back in town. I picked him up. He lives close to the gym, and we got a good workout. It was nothing crazy. We did like a training day routine, because they have like a daily workout, and it was just 5 sets of 10 reps of bench. So it was nothing like something fancy. I did do the rest of my upper workout there with my brothers, because he's trying to get him swole, trying to give him the swollest cardiologist in the world. But it was a good workout. I actually, for someone who doesn't bench, I hit 205 or 205 or 210 for 9 reps on my last set. So I almost hit 10. But for someone that doesn't bench, I think that's pretty damn good still. And I'm pretty sure I think it was the heaviest weight in the room for the 10 reps.
Nice. Is that gym like right behind an auto body shop, or like
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I never ended up going, but I had to go to a mechanic like in that area once.
Yeah. So my brother, since my brother moved back, they bought a house like literally on that bike trail. It goes to their house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
So my brother's a big biker, so he just did like 100-mile gravel race or whatever. So I took him. He doesn't do, he's a big in biking right now. So he just wants to lift to be, hypertrophy workouts, like the standard workouts. So I don't know if he's going to work out there, but he still hasn't really found a gym. And I was like, hey, I know someone that coaches there that's like there almost every day. And some of the people there, like the CrossFit Jack people are a lot different than like the powerlifting and bodybuilding jacked. And the gyms that like Roman and I go to, we don't get to see that. We see it on Instagram, TV, stuff like that. Like the Brooke Wells, Rich Froning, Dan Bailey. We see those people, but we don't ever see them really in person. So it's pretty cool to see, because their bodies are built like so much different than like powerlifter and bodybuilders. And it's like, I respect it, because it's like a whole different awesome look to like like the jacked bodies and the healthy bodies that I see. So it's pretty cool. And also too, it's like, obviously a lot of people think CrossFitters just do stupid forms and don't know how to lift, besides like Ollie lifts and, stuff like that. But I mean, all of them benching, I mean, they got some pretty tight form. I actually did a little bit of coaching and whatnot, and like did some spotting. So it was pretty fun to like work in with the coaches. And my brother also said he jokingly said on the phone he was going to wear a stringer, and like people don't wear stringers in CrossFit gyms. So I wore one under my sweatshirt, and I took mine off, and of course I had to be that guy. So, cause I had a sweatshirt on, I was getting too sweaty. So I wore my stringer in a CrossFit gym. I probably committed probably like 5 cardinal sins in the CrossFit gym, but it's okay, right? That's what we're here for.
What's the difference between a stringer and then a cut-off t-shirt? It's like, you just have a little less fabric.
Yeah, the ladies, honestly, the one coach's tank top, it was pretty much the same cut as a stringer. So it's like ladies' tank tops nowadays are pretty much stringers. So it's like, whatever. I wore those short shorts too, like a CrossFitter too. So I was having fun. But one thing too, I wanted to say, I guess it goes in today's topic anyways. It's weird. I tweeted about this, and obviously it goes like a silent tweet. And you guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter. I really don't care. It's my full name on Twitter. I post a bunch of Gainz podcast stuff, but it's like personal. So I don't really, I guess I use it for both sides, but it's not really Gainz podcast focus, but it's like, fitness focus slash like, back in the day I used to like tweet lyrics. Like that was my thing. I would tweet lyrics, like what song I'm listening to and whatnot. Um, but it's like crazy. And I want you guys to think this. If you made it halfway through and comment below, or maybe if you guys want us to talk about it, or if Roman even gets on a tangent, we might talk about it the whole episode. So it's kind of weird. And I was talking to my brother about it too, because he's got a daughter that's just over 2 years old, and my son is a year and a half old now. But it's crazy that we kind of have to like kind of battle it or discuss it, because I remember I was mentioning that I made protein pancakes for my son for breakfast, or I'll make him like a smoothie that has like protein powder or Greek yogurt in it. But it's crazy to see that people go crazy when I mention that, but people don't go crazy when they take their kid to get a McFlurry or Dairy Queen, what do they call them? Blizzards that are like extra large, and no one bats an eye. And I remember when I got told that I'm going to hurt my kids' kidneys by giving them protein in their diet. So I just wanted to throw that out there, Rowan. I know like just threw a curveball into the messaging, but I just want to know your thoughts, because I think I know what you're gonna say, and I want to hear your comments. But isn't that crazy how you kind of have to defend that, where it's like, why aren't you defending? Like, how can you even defend the opposite?
I knew the Reno failure comment was coming too.
You read that?
Yeah. I didn't see it, but I just like, that's always the thing. Whenever it's like, whenever you mention like protein, insert like any group, they'll be like, aren't you concerned like what it'll do to your kidneys? Like if that really is a concern, it's like very few populations fall in the category where like severe restricting of protein is recommended. Obviously, we're going to caveat this with none of us are doctors, so we can't make an individualistic recommendation based off you, but protein is one of the essential macronutrients. Bodybuilders have quote unquote been over consuming protein for years, and I'd say most of them are all right. Every once in a while you'll have some with some pretty crazy organ distress, mostly because of performance enhancing drugs, not because of the protein. These are populations that will go in excess of like 2 grams per pound of body weight or more.
Yeah.
Totally unnecessary. Totally
like
unnecessary.
The Jay Cutler 400 grams of protein per day.
Yep. Who's my boy?
Rich Piana?
No, not Rich Piana.
Dallas McCarver?
No, his Roman. God, what is his name? Roman. I'm not saying myself. He was on the. No, not Roman Vaughn. If I think about it, I'll mention it later. But he was on Fuad Abiad's podcast. I don't know if he's still is. I don't watch Fuad anymore.
No, I honestly didn't even know he had a podcast, to be honest with you.
Yeah. He had. It's called FAM now. I don't even remember what the acronym stands for, but there's been like a ton of changes to his brand and stuff like that, and I dropped off and stopped watching it. But yeah, Roman such and such, whatever, on the Fuad Abiad podcast, I want to say that he shoots for like two grams per pound of body weight, and he's like absolutely massive. Like his delts are like coming off the video, you know. And again, we don't recommend amounts that high, but like it seems to be safe from all accounts and reports that are coming out. General recommendations typically are around 0.75 grams per pound of body weight to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So I hover around 160 pounds a day. So we're talking about somewhere between like 120, 125 for like the low for me, which is pretty commonly the low, upwards to 160. Some days, if I have like 5 meals, for example, I might go above the 160. Guess what? I'm totally fine. Like it's my I'm not like going into renal failure. So yeah, we're gonna continue to see this because just like people will say like, oh, fats are bad, saturated fats are bad, or just like people will say like, oh, carbohydrates are bad. Unfortunately, there are now billions of people that have been told that insert macronutrient is bad without any context. Overconsumption of carbohydrates for decades that leads to excessive body fat and a low movement lifestyle. That is hazardous, yes. But high carb in general is not bad for you, folks. The one thing we can say about food, generally speaking, is avoid foods that you're allergic to or that you have an intolerance to, like if you're lactose intolerant, for example. Other than that, we have some general recommendations about maybe getting protein in. If you're a little bit more active, you might want to sandwich your carbohydrates around your activity.
Which I want to interrupt. My son is pretty much running around 24/7 besides sleeping for maybe 10, 11 hours and then maybe 2 hours for nap time. So I just want to throw that out there because like I couldn't tell you how much carbs and proteins that kids eat in a day, and it's just like it's just getting larger and larger. I've seen them take down like pretty much like 3 full sheets of graham crackers in like one sitting, like and he's just like vroom, and that's it. Mashed sweet potato, like a big pile, and guess what? He's probably burning it off. Like yeah. The stats show it. The kid's like 90th percentile in height, and like he's not overweight, but he's like 70th percentile in weight. So it's like, you got to look at the stats. But like, I just think it's crazy though. It's like you were saying, like obviously, like I only bring this up too because it's like goes hand in hand. I'm reading the Renaissance Periodization nutritional book right now. So I'm pretty much like over 50% done. But it's like it's so crazy to think that like all these one nutrients are bad, but for some reason only the bad foods are high in carbs and fats most of the time, right? But it's like crazy that people will overeat all that stuff and then and then they'll look at it and be like, well, if I eat over 100 grams of protein, I might die. I might get cancer. Which is like crazy. So.
Yep, definitely. It's so funny. I always am the kind of person where I want to say, like what's going to happen if I overconsume protein, and most people be like, well, I'm not really sure. Just want to make sure I kind of smell something burning. So.
No, you're fine. And also too, like animal meats, like I don't think even what you said, like 2 grams per body weight or 1 gram per body weight up to 2 grams per body weight. Like even if you tried to eat like, okay, I'm 205. If I even tried to eat like over 200 grams of protein, like I'd be feeling so full. So I think even the body will even like you would go in so much distress, like stomach distress. Like if I like maybe one day out of like, I'll be like Roman shins and grins. Like I will take down a 200-gram protein shake and I will show you how much in pain I would be for the next like 4 hours. So like but the weird thing is though, back to that point, like if you had a large or extra large ice cream. Like when I was marathon training, I could show you the pictures of me shirtless. Like I pretty much almost had a full 6-pack. Every week I'd have an extra large. They're called blasters. It's the same thing as a blizzard, but they put the mix-ins in, and I would get brownies, and it had like cake batter in there, and I would get like an extra large one on my training day. And I'm telling you, I was literally in probably the best shape, endurance wise and cardio wise, like ever. And I would buy that, but it was so easy to take that whole thing down. Not only I did the hard training, right? Like I usually did it. I usually ate it after training, and we're talking like almost 20 miles sometimes. But like, it's just so easy to eat that compared to like, you know, what honestly is the worst protein source for me nowadays is a pound of chicken breast. I hate chicken breast so much now. Like, I exclusively only eat chicken thighs because I cannot take the texture and taste of chicken breast. But like, if Roman had like 2 pounds of chicken breast, like, I'm telling you right now, Roman would just struggle like after the first pound.
Yep, 100%. I think like one of the leanest I've ever been was when I worked demo for part of a summer. And I remember after work, my brother and I, we both worked demo for someone we actually used to do Bible study with. And after work, we cruise on over to our local convenience store, and we get these Slurpees, which is essentially just ice and sugar
Oh yeah.
and food dye. We crushed 2 of those sometimes, and that was like the leanest I've ever been.
Yeah.
Like like my abs were just like absolutely chiseled, and like the point being, like we probably added like an additional like 1,500 calories a day. But because we worked so damn hard and it was so hot that summer, like I remember there was a day it was close to 100, and we were ripping the shingles off the roof of this place. This is a massive, massive, massive house. So I'm going in and out of the attic, which is probably like 130, 140. I am on top of an asphalt shingle roof, which is probably 130, 140 with the heat reflecting off the black shingle roof. And I'm like working like an absolute dog. Like my shoulders are on fire, and I'm just flinging huge chunks of shingles off the roof at any one time. So in that situation, like we like quite literally needed that. Like if I just consumed water, for example, my productivity would have been like 50 to 60% the next day, because I would have been so dehydrated. I needed that water with that sugary yucky solution so that I could rehydrate my muscles to be able to perform the same activity day in and day out.
To your point, because we just got the roof done, they actually had a cooler full, like I kid you not, a cooler full of Sprite and Coke. Like
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they down like 24 cans of pop. And these people were lean. Like, they're not fat. Like, they even had an older guy on the roof and he was still going at it, like maybe in his 50s or 60s. Like, it's
Yep.
insane. And back to Roman's point, like, when we build up like a neat or higher energy levels so high, like even in the book, like okay, if you're on like a moderate to low fat diet, like you need those carbohydrate sources. Like, obviously, like, okay, here's a Dr. Mike thing. Obviously, we want the vitamins, the minerals from the carbohydrates, and we can't eat Laffy Taffies all day. But like, if you're in that balance, then why can't Roman have a Slurpee? It's like, if he's adding an extra 1,500 calories, but he's still eating a gram of protein per body weight throughout the day, spread it out, and then like after he's done doing those demo days and he has all those carbohydrates, guess what? That's when your body recovers the fastest, because you're including all that in your diet, and your body just loves it. And like, the main point, like, which maybe we'll save it for another day, but like I'm even actually restructuring my routine of eating, because being a new father, like I've been kind of slowing down to 3 meals a day, where I'm trying to like speed it back up to like 5 or 6, and trying to time everything. So maybe that'll be the segue to the next one, but trying to keeping that timing, of meal timings and different styles of meals within training or non-training days too as well. But that's all I had, Roman. I'm gonna just stop there. Do you have anything? We'll end it here.
I just say a lot of things we talked about, like the McFlurries and stuff like that. the Slurpees. Would we advise it? Generally, no. But again, if your activity levels justify it, also if you just want to have it because you want to have it, like go ahead and have it.
Oh yeah. Those are the best times too.
Yeah,
You just
exactly.
want to just have it just to have it.
To have it just to have it. So generally do advise it. No, certain high levels of activity justify it if you're mostly sedentary. If you don't lift weights, for example, if you work like an office job where you kind of sit around, you'll go home and just like lay around, etc. Is that something that we'd recommend? Generally, no. Again, if you want to enjoy it, just enjoy it in moderation. Every once in a while, totally fine. That is what it is. We like to talk about health and fitness, but also moderation is a huge component of the podcast. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit us up on all those platforms. Gainz Nation, we got an ask for you. If you waited this long, you are amazing. Thank you so much. We love you. Can you get us to 1,000 downloads? Share this with your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your uncle, your auntie, your first grade teacher, your boss, anyone.
Your baby daddy.
A stranger on the street. You're listening to this podcast on your walk and you're just dying because we're absolute clowns. You see a stranger on the street and you want to spark up a conversation, check out Gainz Podcast. Download it on Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Buddy, help me out. Where else are we? The YouTubes.
Apple, Amazon Music, YouTube, everywhere, buddy. But yes, yeah, thank you guys. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.